welcome everyone. This is Ted Schmidt, Action Coach Northwest, and this is another edition of our Business Spotlight podcast. And today our guest is Aaron Quinones. He is the CEO of QActual. So welcome, Aaron, and thank you for being our guest today.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for putting me on your podcast. This is great.
Awesome. Here we go. Okay, we're going to jump right into the questions here and get those great insights from you for everybody. And I'll probably be over here. You see me glancing over as I'm taking notes. So there you go. All right, first question up here. If you had to start from square one in business, what would you do differently?
There's a lot of things I would probably do differently, but the number one thing I would do is I would invest in my employees earlier. It took me about 7 or 8 years of being in business before I really understood that if I truly wanted to grow and scale my company, I couldn't do it on my own. I had to start investing in other people, raising up leaders that are already in my organization and educating them, empowering them, and encouraging them. And once I started doing that, Ted, my business took off. It
Yeah.
grew exponentially. And it's allowed me to build 4 other awesome companies by using that same framework, investing in others.
Investing in others. Awesome. Awesome. I love it. Okay, what have your biggest learnings been as an employer since you began in business?
Probably the biggest learning piece that I had that it came from a failure, right? Which a lot of us, some of
Right,
our biggest learning moments come from a failure.
right.
And so what I learned were these 3 things. And so these are 3 rules that I have for my life now, which is number 1, to be honorable in all things. And number 2, surround myself with people of high integrity. And if anybody asks me to violate rule 1, I refer to rule 2.
Okay.
But how did I get there? So that's the lesson. That's the lesson. So let me teach you why I got to that point. I had hired a friend. I started my company and I was growing. I hired a friend. I knew him from high school. I joined the Marines and he didn't, and so we disconnected. We ended up reconnecting, and I hired him to be the operations guy for my company as we're growing and scaling. Since he was my friend, I overlooked a lot of the red flags in his life. He was cheating on his wife. He was cheating on his taxes. He was getting DUIs. But I just turned a blind eye to it because he was putting numbers on the board. So it should have been no surprise when he started stealing from me. He
Ooh,
embezzled $250,000 out of my company.
wow.
It got into a very long, drawn out legal battle because I had given him profit sharing. And in his mind, that meant that he had ownership of the company, but he never had ownership. He never had shares. He only had profit sharing.
Right.
2 totally different things, which the judge had to explain to him in the court hearing. I ended up losing that $250,000. And as most business owners know, there's really no way to recover that money. You could pay a third party to get it, but you're getting pennies on the dollar. Recovering the money is almost impossible when you're trying to get
Yeah.
it back from an employee that stole from you. I now have a special insurance policy that prevents that. But what I learned was that when I hire people, and especially if I'm going to put them into leadership, they have to be of high moral character. So number 1, I violated my own ethics by allowing people in my company that had low moral character.
Yeah.
So that came with those 3 rules. Number 1, I have to be honorable in all things. That means not letting people like that work for me. And number 2, I have to surround myself with people of high integrity, which he did not have. And so that's how I created those kind of 3 rules just for my life, and I put those into every one of my businesses that I own and operate now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so honorable, surround yourself with people of high integrity, high moral character.
Yep. And if anybody asks me to violate rule 1, I just refer to rule 2. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty simple.
Wow.
I'm a Marine. So I got to keep it simple, right? KISS, keep it simple, stupid. That's me.
Yeah, I get it. I
Not
get it.
rocket
And
science.
I thank you for being candid and sharing that. A lot of business owners wouldn't want to share that, but I've had a lot of clients that have had similar things happen to them over the years. So it happens. Believe me, it happens. So wow,
And
great learning
and you
there.
know what?
Okay.
You know what, Ted? When I did that, I won the court hearing, and he'd racked up all this other debt because he was kind of running like another company off the back
Right.
of my company, where he was
Right.
called it another company with the same acronym, RCC, as my janitorial company. And so he was pilfering money by signing these contracts under my account. Well, he racked up a bunch of debt to all these other people. I didn't have to pay that back. The judge was like, "You're not responsible for that." However, I believed I was responsible because I knew that he was out there doing this dirt, and I allowed him to work for me. So not only did he take that money from me, but then I went and I paid back every one of those other debtors where he
Oh
used
boy.
my company to steal from other people.
Wow. Well, it's
And
your
I didn't have
reputation,
to do
right?
that, but I
Yeah.
felt like that was my
Yeah.
responsibility as the owner, was to make things right because I allowed that person. Now, I'm not saying everybody has to do that, but that was my path.
Well, hey, yeah, you didn't want it to splash on you and your reputation. I get that totally. I get that.
That's right.
Okay. Okay, this is good. This is good. Okay. What are some common misconceptions about running a business and how do you address them?
There are so many common misconceptions. One comes from a lot of people who don't own businesses. And so I get this phrase a lot, and I know your audience is going to chuckle. People say, "Oh, you own a business? Must be nice." Thinking that you just have all this money and all this freedom to do all these things. They don't know what it's like to have it be 4:30 on a Friday night and you're $9,000 short for payroll that comes out first thing Monday morning. Must be nice. No, it's not nice. It is the most stressful, difficult thing you're ever going to do in your life. And you're coming from a guy that's been in combat, man. At least over there, I could shoot back. The problem with being an owner is you can't shoot back, not against your clients, not against your employees. You just got to sit there and take the hits. So, the most common misconception for me, must be nice.
It must be nice. I love it. That's great. That's great. Okay. Uh,
We go
what?
passionate on that one, let me tell
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. I like it. And they don't know. You're right. They do not know. They absolutely do not.
No,
Okay.
no, every
What?
other business owner though is like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, yeah,
I
I
get
get, yeah, yeah. We all know. We all know that, right? Right. Okay.
Oh man.
What do you attribute your growth to?
Yeah, that's good. For me, my growth, my growth really comes from my faith. And that's where my growth started. I started my first business when I was homeless, living in my car in downtown Auburn, Washington. And I had just found the Lord kind of by happenstance. I was struggling with mental health, and I ended up in this vacant parking lot on the 4th of July. It's a day of fireworks and family and fun, but I was sitting there alone. The war that I thought I left behind in Iraq had followed me home, and it turned my mind into a battlefield of cortisol and adrenaline. And thoughts of suicide started to creep into my mind. I had just lost one of the best jobs I ever had. My girlfriend left me, and I lost my house, all within a matter of a few months. So I'm sitting there with nothing. And I remember rolling the window down because I wanted to feel a breeze across my face just one last time. And when I did that, I heard the sound of children playing nearby. And I thought, I'm going to wait until these kids take off because I don't want them to have to find me. So I remember sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. And the next thing I remember is waking up. I'd fallen asleep in that car. And when I woke up, those suicidal ideations were gone. But I was shook, man. I didn't know what was going on. So I started tearing into these medical journals about the brain and how it operates. A couple of days later, I got invited to go to church. And I was like, yeah, it's not for me. I didn't grow up in church. I don't want nothing to do with that. But that Sunday, I woke up a little hungover, if I'm honest. And I drove to the address they gave me. Now, this is before GPS was like a mainstay in your vehicle,
Yeah.
right? So I'm using the old Thomas guide.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So anybody Gen X or older, we know what Thomas Guide is.
Yep.
The millennials are like, what is that?
Yeah.
Listen,
It's like a phone
the
book, right?
Thomas Guide is a big, thick book of maps. So you're driving around like a pirate trying to find your destination.
Yeah.
So I drive to the place that they gave me using this book of maps. And no kidding, I drive right back into that very same parking lot that I was in a few days before. It was a private school called Renton Christian School. And a small church, New Life Church, used to meet in the gymnasium. Now it's a big mega church, but 17 years ago, they were just meeting in the gymnasium of this private school. And so I go in and I hear the pastor talk about feeling lost and alone. I was like, this guy's reading my mail. This is exactly what I'm dealing with. So right there, not really understanding it, I gave my life to the Lord, thinking that all my problems are going to be solved. But that didn't happen. I'm still struggling with mental health. But
Yeah.
one of the pastors noticed me and said, "Hey, why don't you get connected to one of these small groups?" So now I'm reading the Bible and I'm reading these medical journals about the brain. I'm saying, man, these things are saying the same thing. So it doesn't matter where your faith journey takes you, whether you're Jew or Gentile, Muslim, Buddhist, atheist, agnostic, or just searching. You can all respect the Bible as a great historical document. And the stuff I'm reading in this Bible is being proven about by medical science about how the brain operates. And I learned how to rewire my brain away from that trauma and grow my business. So that's where my growth journey started, was with my faith journey at the same time. And it's never stopped. Every morning I'm still in my word, doing my Bible study and trying to learn more. I read, I study, and then I try to help other people.
Wow. I love it. Love it. That's awesome. Okay. All right. Okay. I got to gather myself here. Okay. How do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business?
Ted, that is such a great question. I take micro breaks throughout the day.
Hmm.
I really do. I will take micro breaks. So, and I'll explain why. I'll tell you what I do and then why I do it and why it works. I do this throughout the day. So if I have a meeting, like I have this podcast, and then I don't have anything else for about another hour, I could get on and I could do some work. Sometimes I do that. Other times I go jump in the other room and I'll watch a sitcom for 15 minutes. Or I will get on a video game and I'll play a video game for 15, 20 minutes. And then I'll jump right back into work. I take those micro breaks because here's the thing, I'm always on. If a client needs something, it's 9 o'clock at night, I'm on, I'm working. So people talk about work-life balance. Sometimes this is a common misconception that, okay, well, you have to work a certain amount of hours and then you're off a certain amount of hours. My work-life balance is literally that balance. I take micro breaks throughout the day. I may take 2 hours and go watch a movie and have lunch with my wife at 2 o'clock on a Thursday if I have the time. That is a work-life balance for me, where I take micro breaks throughout the day. Here's why this is so important. Here's why I think this is really beneficial. In your brain, you have these synapses. And every time you have a thought, feeling, emotion, you're creating something, writing, doing anything, your brain is creating electrical impulses. When those electrical impulses hit, that's a thought or memory, it creates waste product in your brain. That waste product builds up over time inside your brain, and you get what's called decision fatigue. This is why making your employees work overtime is the most dangerous thing you can do, because they're not going to have high cognitive functioning and they're going to make more mistakes and cause more injuries when they're working in overtime than any other time of the day, because their brain is overloaded with all of that waste product. So when you go home and you sleep, you have a janitor, literally a janitor inside your brain. It's called the glia cell. Now, this glia cell is really cool because when you sleep, that glia cell will shrink down, allowing your cerebral spinal fluid to flow more freely through your brain, washing all those toxins out, man. That's why when you wake up, you feel refreshed. So I will take little micro naps during the day. I'll take little just breaks to go relax or do something different that's not work related to try and reduce the amount of cognitive load that I have in my brain. Right now it's summertime, so I'll go jump in the pool, swim a couple laps, hop out, dry off, get right back into doing some work. So I do those little micro breaks. It's been great for me. That's my work-life
Wow.
balance.
Fascinating. That's fascinating. Okay. How do you balance? Or I just asked you that. What qualities do you look for in employees, and how do you foster a positive and productive work environment? You kind of already spoke to that, but do you have anything to add?
Yeah. So the two things I look. Number one, integrity. And I ask these questions. A lot of times I know what skill set people have just by looking at their resume. And so now when I talk to other business owners, I try and help them understand you've got to find a better culture fit than skill set, because the culture fit will give you more longevity. And really, you can teach people anything they need to know. But with ethics, you can only present them and they have to choose to align or not. So for me, number one is integrity. Do they align with integrity? Here's a really simple question, guys, that you can ask. What if I'm interviewing you, Ted, I would ask you, and you don't have to answer this, okay? When's the last time that your integrity was challenged, and what did you do about it? And then I just shut up and I listen.
Wow.
And I let them tell me about it. Trust me, nobody's ever asked them that question before, unless they met me, right?
Right, right.
But nobody asked that question. Here's why that's so important. I started doing this. I read this study that Forbes did on the Fortune 500 CEOs. And they asked them, what's the number one thing you look for when you hire an executive level leader? 97% said integrity or honesty, because nobody wants to work with somebody they cannot trust. So I
Right.
started asking that in the interview question, man. So that's how I create that team in the beginning, is asking that question. The second thing I look for, which is equally as important, are they teachable? Or do they think they already know everything? If they're not teachable, I can't work with them, because I'm teachable. I'm still learning stuff. I learn stuff every day. And if I
Yeah.
can learn and you want to be on my team, then you got to be teachable. So those are the two things right there. And then I just create that as part of my culture. I'm really big on my mission, ethos, and core values, and I hold people accountable to the core values. They're not just something hanging on the wall. We discuss these in every single meeting that we have, where I'll ask them, hey, innovation is one of our core values. My whole team is there, and I'll ask, somebody share with me an innovative solution they created for a client this week. That's how we start every meeting, is we pick one core value and everybody tells a story about how they live that out. That's how you maintain that culture.
Awesome. I'm going to steal that question. I hope you know that.
Ted, steal it, bro. Use it. Train all of you.
There are a bunch
Everybody
of
you
other
coach.
people out there watching this. I'll tell you,
Do
that's a
it.
good question.
Dude,
I love
steal
that.
everything I got.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
for it.
All right. Wow, we're sailing along. Okay, second to last question. What question should I be asking you that I haven't?
Um, yeah, about my that I'm a reality TV star. You haven't asked me anything about that.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, I went on this show. So I built this technology. One of my companies is a tech company. We built tech that helps prevent suicide. So I have a nonprofit where I help veterans overcome trauma. I've won dozens of awards for that. Received the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. Was named one of the top 100 Hispanic founders, Seattle's hometown hero. The list kind of just goes on. So I built this thing out and it had great results. And I needed to get more action on that. Try to get more uh, traction. There you go, more traction. So my wife saw that there's this reality TV show for entrepreneurs. It's called The Blocks, and it's a competition show for entrepreneurs. So they put 100 entrepreneurs together, and you live together, and you compete in a series of challenges that are business related, legit business related, like building in a marketing funnel or creating an SOP. You have to build these systems out, and then you compete. And you score points along the way. I was on season 7. I won season 7, and they invited me back to do another season, season 9. I won season 9, and I won by such a huge margin that 3 days into the competition, statistically, nobody could have caught me. And so Wes
Mm.
Bergman, who's the coach, or he's the founder of the show, he said, "Q, I don't uh, you can't play anymore, man. You just it's great for you. You smoked everybody, but the viewers are gonna hate this because nobody could catch me by day 3. So they changed the scoring system so nobody could do that again. So they call it the Sergeant Q rule, because everybody calls me Sergeant Q from my
Yeah.
time in the military. And they changed the scoring metrics, and then they asked me to be a coach and judge. So now I coach and judge a couple hundred of these business owners every single year with the blocks. I'm going back at the end of the month. I will be there working with Wes Bergman. They're doing a military tech version. So I don't know how much of this is going to get advertised, or if this one's even going to make it to TV, because it's all military tech and the people are competing to get a contract with the US Air Force. So that's the show that I'm going
Wow.
to be on this
All right.
upcoming season. And so I coach a couple hundred of these businesses, and a lot of them are startups. They're just kind of starting. They're kind of getting their feet wet, all the way up to people like me who are, multi-million dollar CEOs. But the crazy thing about it is it levels the playing field, because everybody comes there to learn and grow. And you see some of these people who are brand new in business are crushing it. Here's the example. This lady that I coached on season 21 in January, her name was Eileen, and she created the Eileen pan. It sounds weird, right? But it's this pan that leans like this. Okay, so it leans, and so it's fatter on one side than it
Okay.
is on the other. And the reason she did that, so when you're cooking and you want to move some eggs up so they're staying warm, but they're not being cooked, and you still want to cook your sausage down below, you can do that. So it's 2 different temperatures on this pan, because one side is thicker than the other. It was called Eileen Pan. She hadn't even built the pan. She didn't even have a prototype. She had an idea, and she crushed it. She ended up, I can't tell you what happened, but she crushed this competition. You're going to have to watch the season. But
Okay.
it's people like that that come out of nowhere
Yeah.
and are teachable and just crush it. It's such a fun show.
Wow. I think you're our only guest ever that's been a reality TV star. So there you go.
All
That's great.
right.
That's a good story.
Nice. There
There
we
you go.
go.
There you go. All right. Last question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And any words of advice for other business owners who are looking to grow their business?
Yeah. Okay. So the first question, where do I see myself in 5 years? Honestly, keep doing this. I was going to retire at 40, which would have been 6 years ago. I'm 46 right now. My whole plan was to retire at age 40. I had bought property in Mexico. I was building a house. I bought a cabin in Montana. I was going to sell my place here, and I was just going to chase the fish, man. That's all I was going to do. Continue working in my nonprofit and just catch fish and drink beer. That's all I was going to do. But God called me to do this work to help others grow their mental resiliency. And now I help business owners do the same thing because our mental load is huge. And so I help business owners the same way, getting on that reality TV show. And I help a lot of individuals. So I do both sides of it. This is the work God called me to. So 5 years, I'll just still be doing this. I've already built a team of other people that go out and teach this stuff as well. You know, when I go to Mexico now and I teach this program at our retreat, you know, I've got 4 other instructors. I'm training a 5th one right now who will be our first female. She's a combat veteran. And so just trying to teach people how to take control of their mental health. So I'll still be doing the same thing that I'm doing now. Hopefully, I'll just have a bigger team that's out there doing it. And the second part of the question was, what advice do I have for business owners?
They want to grow
The
their
number one
business. Yeah.
advice, yeah, the number one advice is this: pay attention. You don't have to be better than anybody else. You just have to outlast them. So that's the thing. I see a lot of business owners, they face hardship, they face defeat, they face bankruptcy, and they quit, throw in the towel, and go back. Go back and work for somebody else. And they're miserable. So the number one piece of advice is don't quit. Pivot, pivot, pivot. Doing this mental health stuff, I have pivoted and pivoted and pivoted and pivoted until I get something that works. And then I just move forward until I hit another stumbling block and I just pivot again. You're never going to beat me because I'm not going to quit. I'm going to always be there. I'm going to keep coming back for more. And so I don't have to be better. I don't have to be the best. I just have to outlast the rest. And so that's a big piece of advice for all of you out there that sometimes feel like you're failing, feel like you don't have what it takes, that there are people out there that are better than you. You're right. There probably are. But you just have to outlast them. And if you can do that, then you're winning.
Wow. Great advice. Awesome. That's a great way to end it. Well, thank you, Aaron Quinones, the CEO of Q Actual. Great insights today. And thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Awesome. Thanks, Ted.